We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are studying Taittriya Bashyam. Bhashya means it is a commentary on the Upanishad by Shankaracharya. We have had several teachers of the Veda in the past. Throughout the different ages, decades, we have had several teachers. Even today, there are maybe more than 10,000 teachers of Upanishads in the world. Among all these teachers of the Veda, Shankaracharya holds a prime position. It's because he understood the Veda very clearly, and he had the opportunity to teach others. His teachings are well documented. So when he taught Taittriya Upanishad, there was a commentary written by him, which is what we are studying today. So what we are studying today is really very old literature, very, very old literature. It holds true even today because it is revealing something which our eyes cannot know. There is a fact in this universe which our sense organs nor the mind can know that by itself. There is a fact. It's a unique fact. If you understand that fact, the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads give you a promise. What is the promise? It says that you will never have sorrow in life. We all have sorrow in life because of finitude. I feel I am a small individual sitting in a small country, and the universe is so huge. I'm sitting in a small corner of a room and listening to this talk. So our identification today is with the body. What Shankaracharya is trying to teach us through the Veda, through the Upanishad, is to drop this identification with the body. Number one, this dropping of the identification is done in two main methods. One method is taking the body and breaking up into 5 parts. That is what we do in Taittriya Upanishad. What we understand as the body, as I, the individual, is broken up into 5 parts. This is one method, that is Taittriya Upanishad. There is a second method, which is dealing with the mind. We experience everything through the mind. And the mind undergoes 3 states of consciousness. 3 states in which we observe the universe. There is a waking state, there is a dream state, there is a sleep state. That is the second methodology. We are going to study Mandukya Upanishad after this Taittriya Upanishad. I will either take Katha Upanishad or Mandukya Upanishad. Now, Taittriya Upanishad, so there are two methods. All of us want to know who I am. That is the goal of coming for these talks. The second goal is, I have a feeling that I am immortal. I don't die. All of us have that feeling. But then our perception, our eyes are giving us the experience of the mortality. We saw somebody 5 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, but he's not there anymore. What Veda says is, what you are seeing and experiencing is only a mortality of the physical body, not the seer of the physical body. You will say the seer of the physical body is my eyes. No. Veda says the seer of the physical body is not the eyes. There is a light. There is a spiritual light, which is the ultimate seer. That never dies. So the whole purpose of this study of 12 Upanishads is to understand the spiritual light in this body. To understand the spiritual light is a study for 5 years. We are studying different topics every week. We are studying different Upanishads. I'm conducting another session on Wednesdays where I also take some meditations. But the goal is the same. What is the goal? The goal is I have to understand the spiritual light in this body, which according to Shankaracharya and the Veda is my real self. And that real self is immortal. So if my mind can travel in the direction as per the logic of the Veda, then that mind will get convinced. You see, this Veda, this Upanishad has existed for thousands of years. You and I are not the first ones trying to study this Veda. So, this is a proven method, a tested method by which in the past people have become free from the identification with this body as the self. This sentence is extremely important. Body is existing. I'm experiencing the body. But is it my intrinsic self or is it an incidental self? What is the difference between intrinsic and incidental? The definition is intrinsic will remain the same. The spiritual light remains the same in the waking, dream, and sleep. It remains the same when I am identified with the body or the mind. So, according to Veda, the spiritual light is called as consciousness or Brahman. Brahman is a technical word. It is used in many Upanishads. Some Upanishads also describe it as Bhuma, Chandogya Upanishad. Mandukya also says it is Turiyam. So different names are given for the same reality, the spiritual life. Okay. So with this broad introduction, let me go to where I stopped last week. Today we are going to enter topic number 20. What we are studying is the first verse, first quarter of the first verse of the second chapter of Taittriya Bashyam. And in that, there are three words: Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So we are studying these three words. And the process is what? You try to negate the Annamaya Kosha, that means the physical sheath, the body sheath. You negate the second kosha, which is Pranamaya Kosha, the air which we breathe in, air which exists in the body. You remove it, you negate, saying that that is not me. Manomaya Kosha is the mental sheath. Throughout the day, you are thinking. So many thoughts you have. Are the thoughts the self, or the seer of the thought is the self? Thoughts are not the self, but the seer of the thought is the self. So the mental sheath we negate. The fourth one is the intellect. I don't have not only the mind which has got emotions, but I also have a decision-making faculty, which is called the intellectual or the Vijnanamaya Kosha. That is also not the self. Then, the last kosha is the subtlest of the sheets, the covering. And that is called as Anandamaya Kosha. What is Anandamaya Kosha? During our normal physical life, we have experiences of joy. This is one type of Ananda. What Veda says is that this joy which we have in our normal experiences is a thought of the subtle body. Is a thought. So whenever your thought of joy is there, the experiencer, the sakshi, the spiritual light, that is experiencing the thoughts, and you say, I am happy. These thoughts do not last for a long time. They are there for some time and again they go away in a day. Even in 1 hour, you may be feeling joyful for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour. But after that, what happens? I have to do that, I have to do this, I have not done this, this is bothering me, worries will start. So that is one type of joy, which is experienced joy. There is another joy, which is unmanifest joy. Unmanifest means what? The joy which I experience in the sleep state. That all of us in the waking state, as soon as we get up in the morning, we all say, well, very good, I had an extremely good sleep, joyful sleep, restful sleep. That joy, according to Veda, is the joy of the spiritual light getting reflected in the causal body. All of us have got three bodies: gross body, subtle body, causal body. This is what is explained in Tattva Bodha. Now, we have described the 5 koshas. I repeat again, the 5 koshas are Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. Now, a student who is sitting in front of Shankaracharya, he says, okay, good. I have negated all the 5 koshas. And then he says, you are telling me that there is a spiritual light. You are telling me that is there all the time. But I don't experience it. When the Anandamaya Kosha in the sleep state, I only experience the feeling of nothingness. That is the topic we are doing now. This is a common topic. It is a very big objection. It's a very big obstacle to all the seekers. If you are trying to seek that spiritual light, invariably you will have this problem. Because Upanishad only says you remove the waking state, dream state, the sleep state. What exists is Brahman, Turiyam, Bhuma, Satchit Ananda, Uttama Purusha. These are all different terms, but they all mean the same reality. Why do we call it reality in philosophy? Because this is something which is always there. Nitya Aparoksha Vastu. Always there. It was there before the creation of the universe. It exists now while we are all experiencing this universe in this waking state. It exists when you and I go to the sleep state. It exists. What is that? Spiritual light. What the objection Purva Pakshi says is, I don't see that light. I only experience nothingness. That is the topic. When I look after negation of the world, there is only nothing. So, in your definition, you are saying Brahman is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, and all that. Satyam means it is an existent principle. Jnanam means consciousness principle. Anantam means it is beyond time. It is timeless principle. What I am experiencing as Brahman is nothing. Shunyam. Shunyam means zero. Vacuum. Non-existent principle. This is the objectionist. This is objectionist. In the old school of thought, there were 5 scholars. Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Purva Mimamsa, then there was school of Jains and Buddhists. Now this school of nothingness was promoted by one group of Buddhists. They were called as Madhyamika Buddhists, Shunyavadi. This negation of Shunyavadi is done very much in detail by Shankaracharya's guru's guru. The teacher of Shankaracharya, that teacher who was taught by Shankaracharya, his name is Gaudapadacharya. He has written a book, a commentary on Mandukya. In that Mandukya, the 4th chapter is full of negating all the other philosophers. 4th chapter of Mandukya. So there you will find, number one, how this Buddhists were, their philosophy. Yeah, when we say Buddhist, not today's Buddhists, yeah. I'm not talking about your friends who are Buddhists. There are some Buddhists who are listening to this talk also. No, we are not talking about today. What we are talking about is who existed at the time of Shankaracharya. Now, they had a full-fledged philosophy. You see, their philosophy is a very well thought out philosophy. So in 2 texts, in Mandukya Upanishad and in Brahma Sutra, 2nd chapter, you will find negation of these philosophers. So those of you who are interested to study all the other philosophies, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Purva Vimansa, these are different schools of thoughts. Visishta Advaitin. You can study their philosophy and how Shankaracharya negates them. Mimamsa means analysis of sentences occurring all over the Upanishads. Okay, so now this is a commentary of Shankaracharya. This is a translation in English, which will explain what is the details of the objection raised by the Purvapakshi. I mean, there are certain other details which are given here. For those who are studying the notes, which I have sent to some of you, I have sent yesterday Keno Upanishad to some of the people who have been interacting with me, and have been telling me they are reading and they are asked questions, and I have sent them my Keno Upanishad Bhashyam notes of Shankaracharya. Similarly, when you study, if you need those notes, I can send it to you, but please, only if you are studying it, you ask and you go through it. So pramana, now here, because what I am taking here is still only maybe 10% of the Bhashya. I am not able to take in full depth the Bhashyam also, because it takes a long time to go through these explanations and carry on. Now Shankaracharya, in the topic number 21, he says that every pramanam means what? It is a source of knowledge. What are the different pramanam sources of knowledge for us? All the 5 sense organs are pratyaksha pramanam. It's grouped as pratyaksha. Then there is something called as inference. Then there is something called as upamanam. Inference is anumanam, upamanam, arthapatti. These are different. I'm not getting into that portion, but just to tell you, there are different sources of knowledge. What do these sources, what is Shankaracharya? See how beautifully Shankaracharya takes this Purvapakshi, these objectionists, and how he answers. See, when you study the Bhashyam, this is the beauty of the Bhashyam, especially Shankaracharya's commentary. That is why I recommend to those serious students, study the commentary, understand the commentary. The depth of the knowledge which you will get after the study of commentaries is amazing. Amazing. All the obstacles in your mind are doubts. Those doubts will be cleared by Shankaracharya. Now, every pramanam is meant to reveal existent prameyam. Prameyam means object. The eyes are meant to reveal form. The ears are meant to reveal sound. The skin is meant to reveal the touch. The nose is meant to reveal the fragrance, the smell. The tongue is expected to reveal the taste. Okay. All these are sense objects. Are they existing or not existing? They are all existing. So the sources of knowledge, they are proving something which is existing. So they are proving something which is a positive entity. When you say there is nothing, you are saying it is not existent. That is where you are making a mistake. When I say there is Brahman after the negation of the three avasthas or the five koshas, I am calling it as a positive entity which exists. What is the form of that? That is a separate matter. That is what is called as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. But it exists. So the first thing you should understand is it is an existent principle. That is what in this commentary portion Shankaracharya explains that. So again, Purva Kapakshi, what he comes back and he says, Satyam means change, changing phenomena. Okay, what Satyam denotes in the Upanishad is a changeless phenomena. This is Shankaracharya's explanation of the Purva. What does the Jnanam reveal? Jnanam reveals that which is not an inert substance. Anantam means it is not a finite subject. Oh, the reality explained by revealed by the Upanishad, Taittriya Upanishad, is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. And this Satyam Jnanam Anantam is revealing, Satyam is revealing what? It is revealing all the existent objects which are existent. Satyam means it is always existent, it is not changing. So the word Satyam means that you are negating all the changing. What are the changing things in the world? Number one, starting from the body. Body is changing. Number two, mind, changing. Number three, look at the world. Look at the air around you, changing. Look at the earth, changing. Look at the water, changing. Changing means what? Moving, action. Always moving. Then go to some something which is subtler, time, changing. Space is non-change. It is always is. It is closest to Atma. But space is also changing with reference to the state. In the dream state, the space which I see in the waking state is not there. It's not there. It's not experienced. I experience a totally different space. In the sleep state, the space is gone. That is number one. What does the word jnanam indicate? This particular three aspects, try to get to the depth of your mind, because Satchidananda is a word which is used by Shankaracharya in almost all the Upanishadic commentaries. And the way Shankaracharya is explaining here, that Satyam negates all changing objects. Jnanam indicates all inert objects which are negated. Body is also inert. By itself, it is inert. That is why you can burn the body. You can bury the body, because body is inert. But when it is live, what is the difference? The difference is that spiritual light is available as a reflected light in the body for a few years. So all inert is negated. Then Ananta means finite. You see, body is finite, so it is not the self. Changing, inert, finite creation is negated by three words and nothing is left after that. World, body, mind, senses fall within the changing, inert things. Then the next thing which Shankaracharya says, you take the word jnanam. You see, this is how you have to understand philosophy. It is not like the knowledge about the world that we all are accustomed to. We learn it in college, university, atomic physics, and so on. That is objective knowledge. Now we are trying to learn knowledge with reference to the spiritual subject. When it comes to the spiritual subject, there are two words which are used. One is Visesha Jnanam, second is Samanya Jnanam. I will explain this. Visesha Jnanam means the knowledge about the world of objects, which is inert, which is finite, which is changing, all that we know. The entire universe. Suppose you study the distant planet, that is coming under Visesha Jnana. The second type of knowledge is called as Samanya Jnana. What is Samanya Jnanam? It deals with the subject. The knowledge absolute. Beyond which there is nothing. So that can be only one. And that is revealed by the Upanishads. Satyam Jnanam Anantam, seen in a positive way, reveals the Jnanam portion, reveals the consciousness, awareness principle. Body by itself is not aware. Mind by itself is not aware. It is only inert, made up of 5 elements. But there is a consciousness. You are not only an inert body of 5 elements, but you are a mixture of awareness, consciousness with the 5 elements. The segregation of the awareness with the body is the entire study of Vedanta. So consciousness is the knowledge or absolute, the source of all knowledge of the senses, mind. See, what is consciousness? Consciousness is a common substratum for all the knowledges. Your eyes are seeing. There is a power in your body. There is a spiritual power. That power is going through the eyes to see form. The same spiritual power exists when it goes through the ears, it gets the knowledge of the sound. That is what Shankaracharya is trying to explain here. Consciousness is common. Knowledge of the different objects may vary. In the waking state, you have different objects. In the dream state, you have only mental objects. In the sleep state, you have neither the mental objects, neither the physical objects made up of 5 elements. But you're still the experiencer. But what you are experiencing? Ajnanam, ignorance. What is the ignorance? I don't know my nature in sleep. What will happen when you get this knowledge of Taittriya Upanishad? It says that you are the spiritual light. That obstacle in my mind about my own nature will go away. Ignorance will go away, and what will come in its place? The spiritual light, which is always there, will come. That spiritual light is the ultimate drik. Drik means the seer, experiencer, the hearer, thinker. See, these are all the instruments. We all have the five sense organs. Sense organs are instruments. But who is the individual? There is an individual in this body. That individual who says, I am the experiencer of the waking state, I was born with reference, because why will he say that? Because he's in the waking state. Will he say that in the dream state? No. Will he say that in the sleep state? No. In the waking state, what happens? He's seeing the physical body. Our sense organs are showing to me that there is a body. But what Veda says is, these eyes which are seeing the body have consciousness as the principle behind it. I'm going extremely slow so that you are able to understand each and every sentence which I have got before you. Okay? So, we are talking about the ultimate light, the spiritual light, which is called as Bhuma, Turiyam, Brahman. We hear the word Brahman so many times in this Upanishad. Brahma Vida Apnoti Param. You know, these are all Sanskrit words, but actually speaking, they are very simple. When you try to understand, they are extremely simple. It is only words used to negate or to remove all the coverings of your spiritual life. So there are the relative individuality in Mandukya Upanishad is called as waker, dreamer, sleeper. Waker is called as what? Vishwa. Dreamer is called as what? Taijasa. Sleeper is called as what? Prajna. So, I am the same individual who was sleeping, who had a dream yesterday, and who is awake today. This is the knowledge which we have. But what Upanishad says is this is called as relative knowledge. Because you are identified with the physical body, mental body, or the causal body. Beyond these three bodies is the spiritual light. That is the Turiya. That is the seer. That is the awareness, consciousness. So, two different realms are revealed by Shastra Pramanam and Laukika Pramanam. Shastra Pramanam means the Veda, the words of the Veda. What do you mean by words of the Veda? Satyam, Jnanam, Ananta. These three words, they reveal what? They are not revealing the objective universe. Be very careful. Why do you come to study the Upanishads? You don't come to Upanishad to understand atomic physics or biology or field of computer science or anything. That is all left to the what we study in college and universities and books and there's so many things right now. When we come to study the Upanishad, you are trying to see or ask this question. In this body, there is an entity which is using the sense organs. It is using the body, physical body, and it is using the mind as an instrument. And that ego or I can direct it wherever it wants to. Suppose I'm interested in objective sciences, I will go to this particular college, this particular topic. Now I have come to the Veda. What do I get in the Veda? I get the spiritual concepts. The one which is illumining the mind, the one which is illumining the body. So this is Shastra Pramanam, not Laukika Pramanam. Laukika Pramanam means what? It is the five sense organs. It reveals the lokas. Lokas means the objective worlds. Vishesha Jnanam, knowledge and ignorance, is revealed by Samanya Jnanam. This sentence is very important to understand, because once you understand this, you're going very deep into the spiritual light. The spiritual light is the only light in which you can tell your doctor, when you go to who writes your prescription for your lenses, do you see that letter F on the third line? You will say yes. Do you see the letter Z on the last line? You will say no. I don't see it. I can see, I can't see. I can hear, I cannot hear. Knowledge and ignorance. I know Sanskrit language. I don't know Sanskrit. I know Russian. I don't know Japanese. I know and I don't know. I know the world in the waking state. I don't know the world in the sleep state. Who is the revealer? In both the cases, normally we say the body, sense organs, they're all revealing. No, when you come to philosophy, it is the spiritual light which is the revealer. That spiritual light is called as Brahman. That spiritual light is called as Samanya Jnanam, absolute knowledge. So when you say, I don't understand Brahman, that's what Purvapakshi says. I don't understand this, what you are talking about, Brahman and all that. It is only nothing. So that statement is wrong. That is what Shankaracharya is trying to explain here. The definition reveals Shunyam, gave example of son of a barren woman taking bath in a mirage water, plucking sky flowers, hunting with a bow made up of rabbit's horn. Now, this is mentioned in one of the big paragraphs which I had shown to you. In that big paragraph, Shankaracharya gives an example. What is the example he gives? He says, suppose you say that there is a son of a barren woman. Barren woman means what? She cannot give a birth to a child. That means what? It is a non-existent son. Second, the son is taking a bath in mirage water. Mirage water, you can not even take a sip. Forget about taking a bath, because it is not. It is just an appearance. Plucking sky flowers. Sky flowers means what? It is flowers in the sky. It is again non-existent. Hunting with a bow made up of rabbit's horn. Rabbits don't have horn, so you cannot have a bow. So what he is explaining is, Shunyam does not mean any of this. Your Shunyam means this. Nothing exists, non-existent. Your concept of Shunyam is non-existent principle. My concept of Shunyam is existent principle, but which is not perceptual to the sense organs or the mind, which is called as Brahman. Okay. See, these are all extremely deep. The reason I'm taking this Bashyam I'm only taking the Bashyam of this, this particular verse. That itself is a long process, but I'm continuing it because it's very, very deep. Now, the next topic is 4 arguments to refute the nothingness. Okay, this is a very interesting topic. The reason, see, this is how Shankaracharya goes deeper. See, he not only convinces he raises the objection, he gives them a general answer, then he gives a more deeper answer. What are the 4 arguments he gives? Lakshana Tattva is one. Grammar. He gives grammar rules. That if you take that also, your Shunyam doesn't work. Then you take the derivation of the word Brahman. There also, Shunyam will not work. Then he says there is Anupravesha Vakya. These are four things I will explain to you. I'm just giving you a general broad guideline. Because you should remove the word nothingness from your mind. See, when you study the Upanishad, after the five koshas are negated, I do not experience anything is a wrong conclusion. Experience always involves the mind. Here we are talking when the mind is resolved, what exists. So the first thing is lakshana tattva. It is not experienced but is indicative meaning. It is lakshyartha, not vachyartha. By knowing Brahman, Upanishad says person will get moksha. Brahmavid apnoti param. Upanishad is defining Brahman. Upanishad is defining Brahman, which is beyond the sense organs. Brahman is nothing, then the message will be what? By knowing nothing, person will get moksha. The Taittriya Upanishad, it is saying that the knower of Brahman means what? After negating your five koshas, the knower means the seeker. He knows there is an existent entity or a reality which is immortal, which is always existing. It is changeless. It is consciousness. It is not inert. That is what is the knowledge. So whenever you're asking a question and a doubt comes to you, the first thing you should ask is, am I asking this with reference to the physical body or the mind? Many of the questions of the seekers is always with reference to the experiences. Here Shankaracharya says it is not an experience with the mind and the senses. Brahman is not an experience with the body, but it exists. Know that Brahman and be free. You become immortal today because you're not talking of the physical body. Physical body was born. Physical body will die. That knowledge is an objective knowledge. We are talking about Brahma, Brahma Vidya, Atma Vidya, Purusha Vidya. So the realm of experience is Paramarthikam. It's a totally different realm of thought process. Brahman is nothing, then the message. So the second argument, what Shankaracharya says is, suppose you say Brahman is nothing and actually nothing was there, and that is what the Upanishad is revealing, then he'll say that, then it should have said that by knowing nothing or by saying go to sleep and you'll realize yourself. That's what they would have said. For getting moksha, freedom from this body, then the Upanishad would have said, okay, go to sleep, you'll get moksha. No, that's not the truth. Even if you go to sleep, tomorrow morning you'll get up. Again, you will ask the same question in the waking state. So ignorance is equal to moksha. That would have been your contention if it is nothingness is the truth. In the sleep state, ignorance exists. I don't know anything, that is ignorance. That is what it is, a karana sharira vritti. Very important point again. This is not normally taught to people at a beginner's level. At the beginner's level, we just say it is a karana sharira. Here we are saying that the ignorance, I do not experience anything, is a thought. It is the subtlest of the thought, and that thought belongs to Karana Sharira. And that thought is revealed by the spiritual life. It is revealed by Brahman. So Brahman as a positive entity exists even when there is a thought of nothingness. When you say nothing exists, it is a thought. That is also revealed by it is also revealed by that spiritual light. So Brahman is that which reveals the Karana Shariram Vritti in the sleep state. That is how Shankaracharya refutes the objectionist, the Purvapakshi. So something can be known from Shruti Pramanam, knowing which moksha can be attained. So what is the Shruti? What is this Veda? What is this Upanishad? Upanishad is a Pramana. The same faith by which you say that there is a mountain, there is a world in front of me. With the same faith, you should also say Veda is a Pramana. And Veda is saying that there is a Karana Shariram, and Veda is saying there is a spiritual light. I am that spiritual light. So Lakshana Tattvad is the argument. Okay. The next argument is grammar, Sanskrit grammar, in which adjectives have got two roles, a primary role and a secondary role. I won't go into the depth of this because it is slightly it's slightly, I haven't even given many slides on that. I'll just tell you what the slide here means. A primary role of an adjective, suppose you say Satyam reveals a changeless entity, Jnanam reveals a conscious entity, Anantam reveals an infinite entity, blue, large, fragrant lotus. Suppose there is a lotus, and say it's a blue lotus, large lotus, a flower, or a fragrant lotus. What is the secondary role? Jnanam negates inert entity. So the primary is what? It will just give you the description of the attributes of the substance. But what is the secondary role of that adjective, which is a hidden role? When you say it is a blue rose, what does it, the blue rose means? It negates it is not a red rose, it is not a white rose. So similarly, Jnanam, the word Jnanam negates all the inert entity. This is how Shankaracharya gives this argument. See how brilliant is this answer. So Jnanam negates all the inert entities. Inert entities is what? The mind is an inert entity. Thought is inert. Body is inert. Why? Because they are made up of the five elements. Anantam negates all the finite things. So if you want to indicate something which is not finite, the only word you have in Sanskrit is Anantam. So that is what Shankaracharya says it means. Adjectives can exclude only after it reveals its own positive substance. The revelation is primary first. Satyam Jnanam Anantam is the existence of that pure entity, which is called as Brahman. Then the negation, the secondary meaning is it is a product which is not a Satyam, not a Jnanam, not Ananta Padarthas, Ananta Padarthas. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam is not Shunyam. That is what he wants to say. Okay, so that is what is one of the arguments. Then he goes to the root of the word Brahman. What is the word Brahman? How is it derived in Sanskrit language? Again, I won't go into this because I'm not taking many of you have not done Sanskrit grammar. For those who know Sanskrit, you can go through these slides a little bit more. But just to tell you that, all this is, the slides are based on the commentary, which talks about Paninian grammar. And it talks about a sutra. A sutra means it's an aphorism. In that, grammar rules. So I won't go to the depth of this. So I will just say that Brahman, the word Brahman means it is the big one. Bru Dhatu. Bru Dhatu means the biggest. No other approximate word to determine a degree of bigness. So bigness, it is not the bigness, but it's the big one. Because it is not, even when you say it is biggest, that means you're talking about relative. So when you say big mosquito, big tree, I suppose you say this, then you're talking about relatively big. But suppose you say it is the big one, means you're talking about a limitless one. Bigness is not restricted, constricted, or is circumscribed by dimensions. It is infinite. Athato Brahma Jignasa. Brahman is the big one. This word is the first mantra. It's not a mantra, it is a sutra of Brahma Sutras. Normally, when you study, you come to scriptural study, you study three things: Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, and Brahma Sutra. When you come to Brahma Sutra, there are 555 lines like this, sutras. All of them are dealing with Brahma. This is the first. Athato Brahma Jignasa. After you have prepared your mind, you come to realize Brahman. That is what is the first sutra in Brahma Sutra. We'll take a Brahma Sutra after the study of Upanishads. Shankaracharya is saying anything is infinitely big should be free from all attributes. Attributes will limit an object. Brahman means consciousness, which is attributeless. Attributeless means what? It is not conscious of something. See, normally we are conscious of the body, conscious of my emotions, conscious of my thoughts, conscious of the tree, conscious of my phone. These are all conscious of something. But here we are talking about consciousness. Jnanam means consciousness. It is not of something. It is the light, the spiritual light itself. Similarly, existence, not existence of an object. Anantam means it is limitless. It is beyond time. In time, all the objects come and go. But this spiritual light is Anantam. It's not in time, it is beyond time. Why we can't experience this Brahman? Because it has no attributes. See how Shankaracharya is building up this entire. You see, you cannot, this is what I call it as Shastriya logic. Many people, they come and discuss with me Vedanta for a few hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, on the phone, on the computer, and so on, without knowing that we should use only the logic given by Shastra. Don't try to use the logic of your sense organs. You will not understand the spiritual light. The sense organs are this spiritual light, this Brahman, this light of consciousness is beyond the senses. Keno Upanishad, we have done this Upanishad before this. Natatas chakshur gachati, navag gachati, na manaha. The eye cannot know that. The ears cannot know that. The mind cannot know that. Not only this, the teachers who have taught, they also say, I don't know how to instruct you on this Brahman. Because this is beyond the known and the unknown. Known by the sense organs, unknown by the sense organs and the mind. But we have heard it from my teacher. We have heard it from our gurus. Who knew how to reveal this light? That is what I am trying to do now with the Shankaracharya's commentary. So this is the way the arguments are mentioned. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Satyam talks about existence principle, which is common to all the objects which we perceive in creation, and it is an absolute principle when we are asleep. Existence of and existence absolute. Jnanam means consciousness principle. In the relative world, you're conscious of objects. But in the absolute principle, it is the nature. Existence is my nature. That nature will never die. That is why it's called as nature. If it's changing, it is not my nature. It's incidental. Here we are talking about intrinsic. Anantam, it's not a finite entity. Finite means it has a negative connotation. Infinite, positive. It is absolute. So Anantam negates limitations, all types of limitations. Object-wise limitation, time-wise limitation, place-wise limitation. 3 limitations. That's how Shastric logic takes it forward. So if you talk about absence of limitations, empty vessel, not presence of something, it is a negative description. Satyam is a presence of attribute of existence. Jnanam is a presence of attribute of consciousness. Anantam is a absence of attribute of finiteness. There is no logic for nothingness in creation. This is how Shankaracharya negates finally the Shunyavad. Madhyamika Bauddha. He says there is no logic because either something, see, that is why in the philosophy there is only one existent thing in this world. And you know what it is? It is that Brahman. It is that Satyam Jnanam Anantam, Satchit Ananda Brahman. Only one thing. It alone is Kaivalyam. There is nothing else except that. But this is at an absolute level. So when we study Upanishad, you should come to the world which is not revealed by the sense organs, not revealed by the mind, but it is revealed by the Upanishads. That world is called as Paramarthika Satyam, absolute reality. Okay? So this is a topic of negation of the qualities or attributes. Okay, these are all the explanations of the third argument. The fourth argument is three words. Satyam Jnanam Anantam negate everything. I don't experience anything. I experience total blankness. It refutes a changing text, a finite world. You experience only blankness after negation, is what the Shunyavadin says. And therefore, Brahman is Shunyam. This is the fourth argument of the Shunyavadin. What Shankaracharya says is, we don't experience Brahman not because it is absent, but because it is you, the experiencer, consciousness, subject. It is yourself. Very big statement in Vedanta. See, when I negate everything from this body, which is called as the five koshas, there is a word which is used. It is the word used is self. When you negate everything in the creation, negate all the panchabhutas, everything, which is the whole world is nothing but Paramatma. What remains from the world, what remains is the self of the world, the self, Atma. Atma is a very beautiful word. You should understand the meaning of Atma. Atma is not the body, it is the self of the body. That is why we call this knowledge self-knowledge. Atma Vidya. If Brahman is you, and are you Shunyam or are you existent? See how Shankaracharya twists the words. You say Brahman, you say my Brahman is Shunyam, nothingness, nothing. If that Brahman is nothing, if that is the ultimately what you are trying to say is ultimately in this whole world there is only nothing, non-existence. Which means what? You yourself are saying, I am not existent. Then what can I argue with you? That is how Shankaracharya twists the opponent. He says, just get lost because you are not existent. How can I argue with the person who says that I am not existent? Nobody can say I'm non-existent. To say I am non-existent, you must be existent. You must be conscious phenomenon. So Brahman is a consciousness which is the ultimate, which is you. You are the existent entity that ultimately in the sleep state, what is there? It is there. Your self is there. That self is an existent entity. See, many times I always say that beyond our sleep state is our nature. That is what the Upanishads declare. Brathanik Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, they say that beyond our three states is our real state, which is called as Brahman or Turiyam or consciousness. That Brahman is the real subject. Brahman exists as me, the Atma. Atma is myself. That self. See, you can say the self. I can say the self. Myself. You can say yourself. Self is common. What is that common element? That is what is the question. Which Shankaracharya says to the Shunyavadin, that self is not nothing, but it is a positive entity. Okay? Brahman is introduced as Atma, the self. In the second verse, now Shankaracharya is giving why the self is so important. You should also remember the second verse of this second chapter, first section, second verse. Very important. Apart from the first verse, which gives a definition of Brahman as Satyam Jnana Anantam, the second verse is equally important. Why? There is tremendous truth which is hidden in this verse. Shankaracharya repeats this first verse and second verse hundreds of times in his commentaries. What is the second verse? Tasmad vaye tasmad atmana akasha sambhutaha akashat vayoho vayoragnihi agnerapaha adhyaptat prithvi prithivya oshadaya annam annat purusha. This gives you the complete creation in one verse. Complete creation. What a beautiful verse. In Veda, in one verse, in 4 lines, they describe the whole creation. And it is the truth. Just try to realize this and you will realize yourself. So what did we realize before in topic number 22? In topic number 22, we said that Brahman is called as the self of an individual. That self, what is the nature of that self? The nature of that self is, it is that self from which the space originates. First thing, as soon as I get up, what do I experience? The space. So the Karanam, the cause is Atma, the Satchid Atma or the Brahman, and space is Karyam, the product. It is an effect. Karanam is changeless, Karyam is changing. We have done this last week. We did this topic. Similar arguments were made in the last week, and somebody said I went too fast and they couldn't pick up. But don't worry, again we are doing the same topic. From that space, air is born. From air, fire is born. From fire, these are the origination of the 5 elements. Before creation, there was only Atma. After creation, the whole universe of 5 elements appeared. And it will disappear. What remains the same? Throughout creation, that Atma, which I can learn how to negate by, that Atma which I can own up after negation of the Panchakoshas by the study of Taittriya Bashyam or by the negation of the 3 states of the mind in Mandukya Upanishad, that self is the same changeless Atma. This is what is a change in your cognitive ability to understand yourself. It is only a shift in cognition. It is an intellectual process. Okay, so this verse, it says that Atma is the changeless, from which is what is you describe as nothingness, but it is not nothingness, but it is the cause of all the causes. Because it is not a relative cause, it is an absolute cause. Brahman is replaced by the word Atma in this verse. In the first verse, it is said, no Brahman. And you will get moksha, freedom, from the body and the mind. In the second verse, that Brahman is replaced by the word Atma. Brahman is equal to Atma. That Brahman, which is the cause of the whole universe, is the self in me. That pure light. That light is also this light in me, which is my real self, which is what I am all the time. That light is the changeless substratum from which the waker comes and goes back, the dreamer comes and goes back, the sleeper comes and goes back. It is the light, it is the screen in which all the relative activities happen. So in the context of Brahman, Upanishad uses Atma as the self. Atma is the first person singular, I. Everybody can use the word I. Brahman is the essence of the knower student. It is the Jiva Swarupa. Swarupa means nature. What is nature? Which never changes. Is body my intrinsic nature? No, it is an incidental nature. Why? Because body is born, body is gone. But what is my nature? Consciousness, awareness. Knowing this, will I get $1 million? No. But you will be free from the desire of getting $1 million. Because you are not interested in the relative world. You are saying, who am I in my absolute sense? I am not born, but I am the immortal awareness consciousness. See, in one talk, you can realize yourself. If you go through this method of understanding. In today's talk, I gave you a full picture of how the whole project of Brahma Vidya is done. I told you the two methods. One is you go and understand your 5 koshas. Another is to understand your 3 states of the mind. Waker, dreamer, sleeper. When you go through this, wherever you arrive, you're not this, but you are the self. That self is called as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That self is the origin of the entire universe. Brahman is not a new thing that Vedanta introduces. If new, you can suspect whether it is there or not there. Suppose if it's something new, you will say, well, it is a figment of imagination. Brahman is not a figment of imagination. It is something which is existent. But my eyes cannot see it. You need the pramanam, the source of knowledge of the Upanishad or the Veda. You know it, that's all. Study the Upanishads? No. Whatever is existent principle, which is continuously there. So you will not ask what happens to the body, what happens when I die? Will I still have the knowledge of Brahman? See, here you're talking, this sentence will mean that you're talking about the physical body and the mind. But it is not relevant. You see, it is beyond the physical body and the mind. If you know that you are that Brahman, you are that consciousness, awareness principle, you will say that I don't have any birth at all. Birth is a phenomena, is a relative phenomena in the relative world, for which there is a law which governs this relative world. The law of karma, the law of action, reaction, and whatever you will get. See, that is a life of relative life. You are a mother, father, you play roles, all that is relative life. Here you are trying to understand what is my absolute self. Knowing that self, I become immortal. It is a new status of mind, myself, which Vedanta reveals. We understand it by negating old jivatva status. Old jivatva status means what? I am a father, I am a mother, I am a jiva, I am the ego I. So the jivatma status is negated by the Upanishad by saying what? Anyontara atma pranamaya manomaya and all the five koshas. Inside, Anyontara means what? Inside the five koshas is this Atma. So I get what? After studying this Upanishad, what will I call myself? You don't have to tell anybody to others. It is only your intellectual ability to understand your own nature, and it remains with you. And so, what is the final thing you should tell yourself? I am the self. I am Atma. That is the constant feeling you should get after the study of Upanishads. That knowledge should remain firm. That is why it's called as Sthira Prajna. Okay, there are two sentences which I've given here from the 8th section of the second chapter itself. I've just quoted it. Here, what it says is that from that Atma, all the relative jivas are born. Not only relative jivas, but also the devatas which are existing in different other lokas. They are also born from the same Brahman, which shows that it is one reality. That's all. The next verse is a Mahavakyam of Taittriya Upanishad. It comes in the 8th section. Very, very nice one. I hope I can take it someday. But anyway, I just want to explain to you. Sayaschayam Purushe. From that Brahman, which is the core of the reality, the sun is born. The sun and that Atma is one. That means what? Suppose you realize what it really means is that when you realize that you are Brahman, you are that consciousness, you realize that the whole universe is coming out of you, existing in you, and resolving in you. That is what it means. So this verse is very similar to Kaivalya Upanishad 19th verse, which is my favorite verse, which is the verse which says that everything exists in Brahman. Okay, so now the next one is Anupravesha argument, which is topic number 24. Before that, I have given you some of the verses which talk about Anupravesha. Okay, these are all which comes in Taittriya Upanishad in different mantras. And Anupravesha is a topic which I will take up next week because it's a important topic. It also explains why we call original consciousness and reflected consciousness. Why we call all the jivas as reflected consciousness. And what is that original consciousness? How does that original consciousness appear as these reflections in all the bodies? How does that original consciousness enter the body? It is a seeming entrance. It's a very subtle topic, but anyway, let's try to see that next week. I will see whether I can just introduce the topic today. So, Anupravesha Sruti means it is the method by which that pure original consciousness, the self, how does it enter this body in the waking state, dream state, sleep state? Is it a change happening in that Brahman? Or is it that the Brahman remains changeless and everything is just an appearance? That is what we are going to say. Waker creates the dream world, enters the dream world, takes the dream body, and becomes a dreamer. Take the example of dream. When you dream in the night, and then now your next day you get up and say, I was a dreamer. So what happens to the waker? Has the waker changed by any chance? No. So the waker has the power to create the dream, anupravesha to the dream. Anupravesha means what? Like a griha pravesha. Griha pravesha means what? After building up a beautiful house of 20 rooms and then a huge bungalow, you enter the house and you start living there. So you create the dream world, you enter the dream world, you experience the dream world. When you're experiencing the dream world, you're called as the what? You're not called as waker, you're called as dreamer. If you have understood the waker and the dreamer example, you will understand Atma and the waker. See, such a beautiful way Shankaracharya explains. Anupravesha. Anupravesha is a very important methodology of understanding the truth. Very important. If you understand this, 50% of your knowledge you have got of Upanishads. Because many a times people don't understand this Anupravesha and then keep on thinking, oh, this and that, and hundreds of questions will come. And the Taittriya Upanishad, Anupravesha Shruti is extremely well taken up by Shankaracharya. Nowhere else he takes Anupravesha in a very big discussion. He goes very deep into this. Atma creates the waking world, enters the waking world, takes the waker's body and becomes the waker experiencer. See, it is that consciousness which is the waker. It is that consciousness which is the dreamer. It is that consciousness which is the sleeper. In each of these identifications, abhimana in Sanskrit is abhimana in Sanskrit, basically in English is identification. So I am that Atma which lies beyond the sleep state. I myself am identified with the waker's body and the waking world. It's a pair. Dream body, dream world. Sleeping body, sleep world. And all these worlds are relative, but the self is absolute. Okay. Very, very important talk today. I hope you have understood. And this topic, next week, we will go through it. And it is the same topic. If you understand this, you will understand Mandukya very well. In Mandukya also, he talks about the same Turiyam. See, this is all taught by to Shankaracharya by his guru, and his guru also was taught by his guru, and his guru taught Mandukya Upanishad, in which they say that Turiyam, for those who have a little bit of knowledge of Mandukya, consciousness is one. It appears in three different forms, roles, as waker, dreamer, sleep. And in each of this, the body is different. In the dreamer, it is only the mental body, mind. In the waker, it is only the physical body. In the sleep world, it is the causal. Okay. we'll end today with this. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamathaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay. If there are any questions, you can put them on the chat box, or you can ask. I don't see any. Unmute me. Vishal, you want to ask a question? Okay, so Shanmugam is going to unmute you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. We love you, sir. My
Yeah,
question, sir, is with the Anu Pravesha. So if I have understood it correctly, that just the way when we dream and we become the dreamer, same way extrapolating that to the Atma, the Atma is dreaming us. That means we are the dream of the Atma. So we are, even when we are awake, we are in the dream of the Atma. Is that correct?
You are only taking a small portion and trying to conclude.
Okay.
Atma is the waker. Atma is the dreamer. Atma is also the sleeper, in which the world is different.
Oh, okay.
You are only taking the dreamer part and saying, oh, Atma is dreaming.
Oh,
you got it?
My God, yes. So, but saying that therefore this world is in a dream. When people say no, this world is a dream, they say it in this context.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Now you have understood Vedanta. Good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good. Think about it. Contemplate a little bit more. You will get.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Shanta, before you ask it, Shanta, you can go ahead. Before you ask a question, I want to ask you a question.
Me?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question. Was I slow today, or was I fast?
Yes. And I would say this was the speed was perfect.
Okay,
and I
good.
think repeating a few times did help to give that catch up time,
Okay,
which
go
I
ahead.
feel
Yeah.
was, thank you very much. That's one of the things which I wanted to mention. And regarding my questions now, in fact, the first thing I want to ask is there a commentary which you can share on Anupravesha of Shankaracharya Bhashyam? That's one thing I want to know, or about
Anupravesha comes in the 8th section of Taittriya Upanishad. You have, if you go through the 8th section, now we are in the first section of the second chapter. So this is repeated. So when you go through the Taittriya Upanishad itself, Anupravesha, there is 8 section. If you go through that, and if you have the Taittriya notes, you'll slightly go into the details of the Anupravesha.
Okay. So the notes will go through. No, I mean, there is
correct.
no.
It will be there.
Okay.
You see the Taittriya, you have my Taittriya notes, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So my question now is about the same thing, Anupravesha, which was quite catchy, I would say, is when you talk about, yes, the waker creates the dream world, enters the dream world, that is Anupravesha into the dream world, and experiences the dream world. Now, the fact is, we as wakers really don't create our dream world ourselves in our conscious state. As in, I want to dream of being in, I don't know, in India, for example. Um, I cannot create that dream like virtual reality in today's world and enter into it and start doing it. Is something subconscious works, and I have no control the day I want to see the dream or I don't want to see the dream. So how would that be explained um, in a bit more detail, if that's possible?
Okay, there are two answers to your question. One answer is, whenever you say that the vehicle creates the dream world, you are talking about a Shakti, a power.
Okay.
The Shakti is like, it is called Nidra Shakti. You have the sleeping power.
Okay.
Through the sleeping power, you create the dream world. Brahman has got Maya Shakti. It is a Shakti, it is a power, like your speaking power. You can speak, it's a power. I cannot see the speaking power. It is something invisible. So it is a Shakti. That is why Maya is a Shakti, they say. Shakti means it's, I don't know how to translate that. It's just a
Yeah,
power.
I know the meaning of yeah.
So
It's the
it is a
power. Yeah.
power which resides in that Brahman to create. You see, when you study that Anupravesha Shruti a little bit more in detail, there Shankaracharya says, I mean, I'm still going through the first way of answering your question. So there in that Shankaracharya says that Anupravesha is he says in the end, he says that it is a seeming creation. Like a dream is a seeming creation. It is an appearance. It is mithya. See, these are all words that are used to describe something which is, you can't say it is non-existent. You can't say it is existent. So a dream is a perfect example of the concept of mithya.
Okay.
Waking is also mithya. Mithya means it seems to appear and it is not something which is really appearing, or it is not there also. In Vivek Chodamani, Shankaracharya gives a definition of this mithya. You can't say it exists. You can't say it doesn't exist. What you can say is it seemingly exists. Take your life, for example. You were 5-year-old, you were 10-year-old, you were 15-year-old girl, and then 21-year-old girl. Today you're in London, you are experiencing your body, your experiences and all. Take your past, put them into a basket. Can you say it was existent? Because today it is not there. Right now, that old things which you experience is not there.
So true. Yes. Yes.
It's not there.
So it has passed through.
It's
Yeah.
past. And then can you say it was non-existent?
No.
No, it cannot. I cannot say it is non-existent because I experienced it. Then going through that experience, I experienced it. That is exactly what happens in the dream state. While you're in your dream state, and that is the definition of the word mithya. While you are in that experience, you are going through that experience, you will say, in the dream world, you will never say that waker is there, waker created the dream. You'll never say. On waking up, you will say. Similarly, on waking up to the Atma, through this study, suppose I'm just giving you a supposition. Suppose for some reason you believe the Vedas 100%, and you say, okay, right now in this minute, in this moment, I consciously close my eyes and I say, I am Brahman. That's all. All your experiences with reference to the waking body is not there for you when you say you are Brahman. And that is what is called as waking up. You close your eyes and say, whoever it may be, anybody attending the class, right now, just close your eyes and say, Aham Brahma Asmi. And full faith. When you say it, you touch your heart and say, I am that consciousness. Full faith. What will happen? None of your thoughts will appear about your past. None of the thoughts will appear about your future. That state is called as immortal self. which you realize it today, right now. Vedanta is an experienced, it can be, it is an anubhava. Shruti, then you have logic, and then you have anubhava. These are the three pramanams. By Shruti, you come to understand, yes, there is Brahman, there is some consciousness. By Yukti, which is logic, which is what we are doing through these classes, you try to logically use your intellect, because Vedanta is not meant for people who don't use their mind. It is an intellectual study. And then finally, Anubhava. Anubhava is take that learning and apply it yourself and say, is that the truth? And you will realize it is the truth. Once you have realized it is the truth, it becomes permanent. It will never go away. Because it is something which is gone deep into your subconscious mind. And once it goes to subconscious mind, that is the light, the spiritual light will enlighten that self in you, and you will have zero doubts about yourself. Zero, absolute zero.
That's one thing which I, challenge this is when we say, when you mentioned that, which was quite interesting, that life is mithya. It's understood because just like my past doesn't hold anymore, if I look at it, it existed, but it doesn't exist anymore. So I can give it as a mithya. So in that way, even my present, next moment will become mithya because it doesn't exist anymore. So when you talk about that, and when we think about it, then we are doing karmas at each point, agami karma, or we are completing our prarabdha karma. So when it doesn't exist or seemingly exist, how are these karmas being accumulated and I have to come here to fulfill them?
Okay. See, good. It's a good question. It's a logical question. See, the moment you start identifying with karma, with body, karma will come only we have a body. Body means you're now identified with the body. At the body level, you can only use the logical law of karma, and that's it. You're not talking, so the entire world of karma is ignorance.
Okay. Okay.
When you are asking questions about karma, body, mind, why am I suffering? Why do I see so many billions of people who are suffering? Why there is war in Ukraine? Why hundreds of thousands of people are dying? All these questions are all with reference to the body. The moment you come to body and the mind and what you are perceiving and life in relative world, it is nothing but it is a law of karma. The moment, and it is ignorance. It is spiritual ignorance. The moment you walk out of the spiritual ignorance and then you apply the logic of Shruti, and the moment you say, I am Atma, this entire logic, the karma theory is gone. It was there. It answers the few questions which I have in my mind about the world. But that world I have realized now as mithya, as an appearance. In the relative world, I will play my role. Don't forget it. Even after getting the vidya, after getting Brahma Vidya, after knowing I am Brahman, Shankaracharya went to the extent of teaching. He said, I have to play my role. As long as this body is there, I will play the roles. Be a mother, be a sister, whatever you have to do, you do. But always remember at the back of your mind, like the Shruti, it should always be telling you, this is an appearance, it will go away. It is an appearance, it will go away. So the moment you get up in the morning tomorrow, it is an appearance. It'll go away. Again, the day after tomorrow, again a day will come. Do whatever you have to do. You have to go and do shopping, you have to go and do cooking, you have to go and help some friends, you have to go and talk to people, do all that. And actually, the Upanishad says you can't even stop it. Even if you want to stop it, you cannot stop it because it is a arrow which has been shot. The body has been born. It will complete the last karma. Till then, it will not die. That is the law of karma. Not only your karma, others' karma also. Other people have to do things for you. They have to do it. Till then, your body will be there, will be experiencing joy or sorrow. Okay?
Is it possible for anybody at any moment of time to feel have a fleeting moments of feeling Jivan Mukta?
Oh,
Because
yes.
when I do
Plenty.
meditation, I just find I'm not the body. So is it
Yes.
possible or is it just my
Absolutely possible.
imagination?
No. It is not an imagination. It is a fact.
Okay, thank you.
Hundreds of seekers have come and asked me the same question. Hey, is it true that, there was something I just had the experience, but I don't know how to tell you and what to do, how to explain. Is it imagination or is it a fact?
Mm.
It is not an imagination. It is a fact. The revelations of the truth shine in the intellect for fleeting moments at the beginner's level.
Okay.
Fleeting. It will be just a few seconds before you realize, this is Atma, this is Atma. What Shankaracharya says is, I have to keep that flame glowing inside, the spiritual flame glowing inside, and make that flame as a huge flame. By repeated study of the Veda, this is possible.
Thank you very much for your answer. Thank you.
Good. Very good. Anna, you have a question? Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. I have a question regarding the previous question. So how do you know what to do?
So
how do you know what to do in life?
Oh, in life, how do you know what to do? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, good question. See, in life, I'll take a practical example. See, I will try to answer. Tell me whether this answers your question because I don't know at what depth are you asking this. But in life, most of our life is governed by thoughts. And the thoughts in us are determined by our past. Whatever I have done in the past, those are coming back to me as present. Whatever I act, and that will come to me in the future as a present. So at any point of time, your actions will be governed. That is what is the law of karma. Your actions will be governed by your past and by your purushartha, your willpower in the present. At any point of time, a thought will come, and then you have a small gap, maybe a microsecond gap, to say, yes, I will go after this, or to say, no, I will drop this. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says the same thing. Our life is governed by two factors. One is the past, which is called as, some people call it fate, some people call this as karma, phalam, and all. That karma phalam, the result, comes to us by manifestation of thoughts. For example, today you want to anything. See, you want to do something. You want to come and learn learn Vedanta. It's a thought which came to you. how did this thought come? Why did it come today? Why did it come yesterday? Because somewhere at the back of your mind, there was something you wanted to understand, you wanted to come. You had some process in your own mind before. Now, when this process was going on, today you said, okay, I will attend the class. Let me give it a try. So what happens is you attend, and then what happens? It becomes a cause of your next week. Next week you'll say, oh, I didn't like the thought. I like the thought. If you like the thought, you'll come back. If you don't like the thought, you'll go. So just to answer a simple question, to your question, at any point of time, how do I act? The question is, you act as per your intellect. Your intellect, you think for a moment, and then you say, yes, I will do it, or I will not do. If your intellect says, looking at the factors, I do it, go forward. Once you have decided that this is what I want to do it, then go full blow and say, yes, I will do it with the best of my ability and achieve it. And the results, don't worry about it. Suppose you say, no, I won't do it, then drop it. So at any point of time, your action is governed by willpower and your past. What succeeds is the question. Whether my willpower succeeds or whether my past succeeds. What the teachers tell us is that the willpower is more stronger than the past. The past is only a suggestion, which comes in, is an expression in our mind, a manifestation of a thought in the mind. But always, Purushartha, the willpower, has an upper hand over whatever thoughts you may have. And by that, slowly, once you start using your Purushartha, you will use your Purushartha. Purushartha is a Sanskrit term for willpower. So use your willpower again and again in the right sense, go in the right direction. Whatever course of action it guides you to take, you go ahead, you go forward. Have I answered your question? Do you have any other sub-question?
Thank you very much. This is very good. But I do have another question. How do I know that what I decide what to do isn't just my maybe desire, and that's maybe not something I should pursue, even though it might feel like it's my intellect telling me, no, this is the right thing. I think my problem here would be that in those moments or those states, it's like a ding dong, you know? So then I'm confused.
Okay.
Is it something I should pursue or not? So sometimes it really looks like a good idea, and probably a lot of reasons to do that. Yet sometimes I just wonder, should I actually pursue it or literally not do anything?
Okay, very, very nice question. It's a very deep question. I'm sure you have felt it, and I'm sure almost all the seekers here will also have the similar question in their mind, because this is a very common question. See, when I'm giving you a scriptural answer, answer given by the Veda, okay? Then I will tell you what about how to react it in a relative sense. What the Veda says is, there are two types of actions. One type of action is where you have control and you can change that action. You can not do that action. You can do that action differently. That is what is called as a changeable action. Okay? There you have to use your intellect. simple usage of your intellect means what? Shall I go and ask a friend of mine and deliberate on it and then take a decision? Or shall I ask my mother or father or some elders in the surrounding? Ask them. Then you take a question. If your intellect, you feel that I'm not mature enough. So that is an intelligent living. If you're not sure, the ding dong happens to all of us. In some aspects, it will happen to you. In another aspect, it will happen to others. Should I put my son in education in Harvard, or should I go to Stanford, or, it happens to in everyday life. So this question is, you take it up and you answer it the best way your intellect can pursue it. Second, there are some actions which you are forced to do, you cannot change it. Whatever your intellect may decide not to do it. This is beautifully brought out by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that I don't want to fight this battle. In the Bhagavad Gita, if you are familiar with the Gita, in life, all of us, I have felt it hundreds of times in my life. I don't want to do that action. But still, something in me forces me to that action. That is what is called as Rajoguna. I don't want to be angry, but I just can't control my anger. I don't want to have this particular desire, but this desire just keeps on coming. Lord Krishna answers this question exactly what you are asking. Arjuna asked this question. I have desires. Kama and Krodha. If I don't fulfill my desire, I become angry. If I fulfill my desire, I become more addicted to that desire. What causes this? So to that, the answer is there are certain actions in your life which is caused by strong prarabdha through the method of Rajoguna. And you just have to live with it. There are these emotional experiences do come to all of us. Even if I don't want to do certain things, I do it. And then I repent. Oh, why did I do it? Actually, there's no answer to that question. You just did it because it was the way the life treated you. That's all. See, in any given situation, our intellect uses the faculty to discriminate between good and the bad, right and wrong, and takes decisions. So the best way to overcome such situations is the scriptures themselves say that the study of Vedanta will neutralize some of those actions, eruptions which will come into your mind. It will neutralize. Those which are supposed to come, some actions are supposed to come in your, say, in the life of, say, 60 years, 80 years, or 100 years. These thought eruptions will keep coming. But these thought eruptions can be neutralized by way of some actions which you can do. And the study of Vedanta is one of the most effective ways to lead a peaceful life. In the sense, not only your Vedanta study will give you a peaceful way to deal with the situations as and when it comes in life, but it will also neutralize some of the bad actions which may have come to you without the study. Okay. Do you have any other questions in this?
Maybe just a short one. I think it's when actually everything is peaceful and life is quite great. I think in those moments I wonder, wow, it's so peaceful. Should I actually do something? Should I do something more?
Oh,
So
good.
it's like,
See,
should I
yeah.
participate in life or just relax and be,
No, see, what you're describing is also another very beautiful experience. If um, in your life you feel happy doing nothing, and you feel happy, really happy, you feel that, okay, I am with myself and I enjoy being myself, and it's a good feeling. That's okay. You're being with yourself and you're enjoying yourself. That's all. From Vedantic angle, it's a very beautiful thing. But suppose it is tamasic in nature. Suppose it is not your sattvic nature. There are two natures of your mind. One is where you are clear that I am enjoying my own self, which is sattvic nature, which is what is called as positive. But there is also a tamasic mind in which where the mind can be taking you for a ride, and telling you don't do anything, and it tells you to be lazy. That is another opposite side. Be aware of that side of your mental balance. If it is positive, sattvic, go ahead. If it is negative, tamasic, jump into action. What Vedanta says is learning about this Atma in a positive way, being with Atma, thinking of Atma in a positive way are the sattvic way of peace. I am that pure self is a continuous thought. If you have, it is a thoughtful relaxation. It is not tamasic, it is thoughtful, Vedantic, sattvic meditation. Okay, I've gone a little bit deeper, but I'm sure you understood what I meant.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, there's a question here from Jaya. Did Karana Vritti available to sannyasi? Yes, all of us, as long as you're having a body, Karana Vritti will be available. Because of Karana Vritti only, you will be sleeping. You see, Jnani also sleeps. He knows. See, what is Karana Vritti? In the waking state, you say that sleep is a Karana Vritti. You can't do that in the Karanas. You can't do in the Karana Avastha. So in the waking state, you and I, suppose you say, I was sleeping yesterday. I will go to sleep today. Sleep is nothing, but it is just a vritti saying that there's nothing in the world. And I am aware of that vritti. All this is happening not in that avastha, it is happening in the Jagrat. So you are not a sannyasi, you are a jnani. So your question, direct answer is, does karna vritti is available to sannyasi? Yes, it is available. But go 2-3 steps ahead. Have I answered your question?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else has a question?
Yeah, I had one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Vendesh.
Yeah, it is that Anupravesha Sruti,
Yes.
that particular statement of it's the dreamer, it's the waker who gets into the dreamer's body and experiences dream. Similarly, the Atma comes into the waker's body and experiences the waking life. Is it not an analogy to understand the nature of Atma?
Yeah,
that
it
because
is.
it is a little more easier to
Yeah, it is.
understand the
It
way
is.
Waker experiences dream. Similarly, understand how the Atma gets into the Waker's body and experiences the Waker life. Actually, either the Atma or either the Waker or the dreamer or the sleeper, all these are mithya, not existent. Is it the way to understand it?
Absolutely right. You're right. See, you are 100% right in understanding. This example of Anupravesha is a very deep study in Vedanta. And Shankaracharya uses this Anupravesha many times in many of the Upanishads. It's good that you have raised this question, you have understood it clearly. The best way is to understand Anupravesha is I myself as the waker, I enter the dream body, dream experiences, I go through the dream experiences. It is an anecdote, it is an experience which I have. I apply that experience to Atma to understand the current waking state. What you have understood is absolutely 100% right. Good. It shows that you have a keen intellect. You have listened properly. You have applied properly. The same thing is mentioned in Mandukya Upanishad. In Mandukya Upanishad, in the Mandukya Upanishad, there are 12 mantras. In the 6 mantras, they explain the waking, dream, and sleep. And then Shankaracharya's guru's guru has written a commentary on the. There are 28 verses. In the second verse and in the first verse of the Karika, this particular point is mentioned. That the Atma itself, the consciousness, the self itself becomes the waker. The self itself becomes the dreamer. The self itself becomes the sleeper. Therefore, negate the waker, dreamer, sleeper as relative selves. Hold on to your intrinsic changeless self, which is the Atma. Okay? Yeah. Very good. It's a very important point in the study of Upanishads. I want each one of you to understand this very clearly. 99% of your doubts of Vedanta will go away. If you have understood Anupravesha Shruti, it also comes in Brihadaneka Upanishad. Very beautiful section in Brihadaneka Upanishad, Taittriya Upanishad, and the Mandukya Upanishad. Anupravesha. Anupravesha means seeming. One thing you should understand, one point in this subject. In the Shankaracharya's Bashyam on the 8th section, Sayaschaya Purushe, that verse, that is the Anupravesha Shruti Vakya. In that, Shankaracharya raises opponent, Purvapakshi. And what does the Purvapakshi says there? He says that I don't believe in this Anupravesha. I'm giving you that, just quoting you that. It is not a physical entrance like you enter a house. Like it is like a house. You enter the gate of the house and you enter. That is Anupravesha as well as Griha Prasana. When it comes to the Atma, it is the nature of Atma to remain as its pure self. Anupravesha is a seeming. It's a seeming entrance. Ultimately, what is the Upanishads? What is the goal of the Upanishad? Goal of Upanishad is to reveal Atma. And what type of Atma? Changeless Atma. The moment you say Anupravesha means what? It is changing. So here the opponent comes and says, when you say Anupravesha, doesn't it mean there is a change involved, Vikara involved? There Shankaracharya gives the answer. It is not a changeful entrance. It is changeless entrance. Waker is changeless. Nothing happens to the waker. He had a dream. We could have had the worst of the dreams. And then what happens? The moment you are waken up, what your experience is gone. Therefore, it is what? It is a seeming entrance and a seeming exit. So, apply the same principle to the waking state. The moment you say, I am Atma, I have understood this, how do you apply the Vedic logic? The logic is, I am seemingly a male, a female, with a 50-year-old body, 30-year-old body, 24-year-old body. Seeming. These are all seeming. It is all mithya. It is appearance. I alone am is the truth. That is why your study of Vedanta should be more and more to understand the Atma's nature and drop the Jivatva nature. Jivatvam, I'm a father, I'm old, my body was sick, I had a cold last week, it was not going, I had a cough yesterday night, I couldn't sleep at all, 3 o'clock I got up in the morning. All that is relative truth. It is not absolute truth. So, seeming nature, you should always remember mithya nature. Anupravesha, always you should remember with seeming. Add the word seemingly I am a waker. Seemingly I am so and so. Then you have understood Vedanta 100%. Full clarity. And you have full clarity, you will have immortality. You will have moksha. Moksha means you will realize that I am ever free from this body. Anupravesha is an extremely important principle to understand moksha. Very important principle. You may have studied Vedanta for 25 years, but if you have not understood Anupravesha properly, then you will not get the benefit out of study. You would have got an academic study, yes, all okay, very good. But then Atma is free, but I am not free. That's what you will say. Okay. Any other question?
I have a small question, supplementary question to this. Is Anupravesha means you are telling that seeming, whether it is seeming or seemless?
It's seeming or seemingless is very seeming, very, very similar, I'm saying. It's, seemingless experience or a seeming experience. I don't know what you mean by as a difference between. It's a seeming experience means what I'm saying is, it is a continuous experience. It is an experience while I'm having the experience. You see, for example, the waking. I'm listening to the talk. It's a seeming. It is an experience. But it is not a seeming experience when I'm actually experiencing.
You mean to say that spot space becomes whole space. Spot space.
Yes. When you are a pot, at that time you'll say it is spot space. As long as you're identified with the pot, with the body, you will say, I am a consciousness, I'm a body with consciousness. But suppose you say I'm consciousness, in which the body is appearing and going. It is no longer seeming, it is, I am the reality. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
I hope you got the difference, right?
Yeah, you got it.
I am the consciousness in which the body is appearing and going, mind is appearing and going, the whole world is appearing and going. That is the truth. Most of us, we think Vedanta is because it's a pancha kosha, I have to go deeper and deeper inside my body. I keep the body as a periphery and I'm trying to understand Atma. Consciousness is a part of the body, is what I understood. That is a wrong understanding. The moment you come to Atma, you have to drop the 5 koshas and become free, like the space, outside space. Then you are free. Then you will never have a doubt in Vedanta. I am ever free as consciousness. Very good. I'm glad you asked this question. So we will stop here. It's a long Q&A session today. Oh, there are 2 more hands raised up. Shama, go ahead.
Shekharji, just this Anupravesha alone, the beauty of this, which I'm taking it as a practical take home, which is so much nicer once you're aware of this knowledge, is that it's almost like not only seeming, but it's a seamless, it's a continuous flow of that awareness state, isn't it? The Sakshi Chaitanya, regardless of whatever we're experiencing, whether it's in dream state, whether it's in the wakeful state, it is just a seeming appearance, isn't it?
Correct. You see, here the word seeming and seamless depends
Yeah.
on whether you are taking yourself as the consciousness as a seamless experience, or you're taking the experiences of the body as a seeming experience. That's all.
Yeah. So it's like a continuous. The seamlessness is because it just is continuing from one to the other, as if in the sleep state you're somewhere in the middle of the bank of the river. On one side you have the wakeful state of the bank, and the other side is the Turiya state. So you're just floating in between, aren't you? I mean,
yeah, that's correct. This is an example. This is an example in Mandukya Upanishad commentary where 2 examples are given. Because this is a very beautiful thing which you said. In Mandukya, in the commentary of Shankaracharya, he gives the same example what you said. He said, I am like the fish which is going from the shore to the left side, left bank, and going to the right bank. In the left bank, I'm seeing the waking state. In the right bank, I'm seeing the dream state. When I come to the middle, I'm in the sleep state. I see nothing. So the waking state and the dream state are the left bank shore and the right bank shore. Events are happening, but I am asangaha. None of the events, they affect me because I am the Turiya Chaitanyam. I am beyond the 3 states.
So these implications are very profound, aren't they? In terms of like how we accept experiences which can make us feel upset or too excited, neither of them being really real, isn't it?
Yes, see, that's what I explained in when Anna asked the question today. She asked me, are there examples? How do I act in? Sometimes I feel I can't act. Sometimes I feel, yes, I can act. So this is where that the same experience. See, when you are having the experience, you will not be able to know it. The moment you're out of that experience, you'll when you go back and think about it, then it becomes a learning.
And this also happens to be the principle with the Zen Buddhism advocates, isn't it, of the mindfulness. So which basically to me means is the understanding coming from the knowledge of Vedanta, this that it is true, so you don't have to actually take it. This is the truth, that you say, oh, it's hot. Yes, it is hot. It is cold. Yes, it is cold. I'm happy. Yes, it feels happy. I'm sad. Yes, it feels sad. You know, so it's so easy to detach from both the experience.
Yes.
Otherwise, a secondary experience of getting involved in it, isn't it, comes up, which is really disastrous. I think now I'm calling it disastrous, but the instruction is very good from this knowledge of anupravesha. Yeah.
Good. Yes, I'm glad. This anupravesha is an extremely beautiful concept. You know, understanding the concept itself, you can apply it in your practical life. You know, very beautiful concept. It's good.
Thank you.
Bharat, I've seen your remark. You have expressed very beautifully. And it's a mistake, and how do you correct that mistake is what we learn from this anupravesha Shruti. Okay. Bharat, you want to add anything to that? Or you want to say anything? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll close as of today.
Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I had microphone problems. I just wanted to say, Shakaji, so this has been a brilliant presentation. Every point perfect. It's like exocet missiles. I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I really liked it. For me, this was one of the best. Really good.
I mean, the credit goes to Shankaracharya, his commentary.
Yeah.
It's amazing the way he expresses it. There is no teacher in the world who can express the way he does.
But to take these timeless ancient teachings and convert them to modern day parlance, that's all down to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Shanta, you can email your question. I'll get back to you. Thank you and good night.
Good night. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Good night.